Never have I ever forgotten to add a CTA to the email. Never have I ever faked being sick from work.
The best CTA, what's the best CTA, Sanjana, that you've seen work?
How many hours do you spend on LinkedIn every day? I don't know, you tell me, but it's not about asking time.
All the time, like most of that.
Hey everyone, I'm Sanjana. I'm a product marketing manager at Leadfeeder, and I also run this YouTube channel. And today we're going to play Never Have I Ever with my guest, the one and only Sangram Vajre. He's the co-founder of Terminus, author of 2 best-selling books on ABM, and the founder of Peak Community. Sangram, what a pleasure to have you on the show.
Excited to be here, ready to drink a lot of chai.
Awesome. So just to set the context, so today we're going to play Never Have I Ever with Sangram. And have you played this game before?
No, not really. I mean, I've played like 2 truths and a dare, that kind of thing. So I think it's similar to that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is similar to that. So typically this is a drinking game, but we're going to avoid drinking on the show. But instead, Sangram will take a sip of the Indian chai every time he says yes for my questions. If you don't know what chai is a popular word for tea in Hindi. And I think we are the only ones to play Never Have I Ever with chai in the whole world. I'm not sure if anyone else has done that.
Is everybody else there having their own drinks?
Yeah, they do have their own drinks. Yeah, that's actually a game that you play when you drink with your friends. It's a fun game that you play. Okay. So I'm gonna ask Sangram a few fun questions about marketing. And I think at the end of the show, you'll realize that all great leaders make mistakes. And I think that's how you grow. Like without making mistakes, you can't learn and you can't grow. So that's what the show is all about. This show will reveal the mistakes that leaders like Sangram have done in the past, how they fixed it, and how those mistakes got them here. So it's just for you and me to realize that we are not alone. We all make mistakes, but the only difference between Sangram and us is we make mistakes, but how fast do we learn from our mistakes and keep moving forward? So that's the only difference. So I'll just stop my motivational speech and get going with the game. So yeah. So Sangram, I have about 10 questions for you today. And if you're ready, we can get started.
Let's go.
Okay. Never have I ever sent mass emails with "Hey, first name" as the greeting. Like you forget to personalize the merge field.
Yeah, I'll have to drink a lot of sips on that one.
You've done that? Okay, I thought I was the only one. Okay.
No, I've done that. This was this was pre-Pardot, like everything. I was with a startup, and this was 2007 or 2008. And at that time, marketing automation really was, and I wasn't even exposed to marketing automation part of the world. So we would send email. I was working for the small company. I was sending an email to everybody, and there was no segmentation or all those things. There was no way to figure that part out. So somehow accidentally we working with an IT team, and we said, send this email, and they sent it to everybody. And we had to then resend and respond and get everybody like, no, sorry, and apologize. It was a big mess. I learned a big lesson that you can't do that. But what worked out of it, Sanjana, was we were then able to follow up with even a better offer for the people so we kind of followed up very quickly and said, oh, sorry, we apologize that we did this. But since we did this, here's what we would love to do for you. And it actually drove revenue for us because people appreciated the transparency and authenticity in it and the quick response to it. And we just didn't say, hey, we're sorry, or we just didn't hide. We just expressed it and clearly, openly apologized and offered something even better.
Yeah, I think the same happened with me as well. So like I sent out a webinar invite email to about 60K people with "Hey, first name" as the greeting. But the only good part is I got good engagement rate for those emails because people kept replying to my email saying that I forgot to personalize the first name field. Of course, not in a very helpful tone, but people were so rude. But of course, I did apologize to all of them saying that, sorry, this happened. And
did you do it one by one? Did you respond to every single one of them?
No. No, we again sent out an apology email to all 60K people saying that this was a mistake and we will give you this offer. Just try out the product for the just try out the product for 30 days or something like that. So that was the apology that we sent out. Yeah.
Okay, that's
but
better.
I did reply to those who replied to me. Like I personally replied to them. So just out of, yeah, so I did that as well. Okay, so the next question is, never have I ever become tired of explaining what I do to my parents just because they don't understand it anyway.
Well, I mean, my parents don't care as much about what I do specifically. They're like, yeah, he does a bunch of things. But I think when you explain somebody on the street, right, like what do you do for business, or to my kids, like to my kids, if you ask them, what do I do? They're like, he's on the phone and video talking all day. Like that's what he does. To them, I get more TV and electronic time than they get. Like that's their biggest thing, because I'm always on, like, when during the work hours I'm here. So they look at that as like, well, you get to do it. You get to talk and be online all day. And I'm like, no, it's work. And like, they were like, we want to work. And so it's hard to explain them like, well, no, this is part of building a business, building relationships. So with kids, I think it's harder.
Okay, awesome. And the next question is, never have I ever tried to postpone a meeting just because I woke up late or wasn't in the mood to show up to the meeting?
Oh, I've done that.
Okay.
I've done that. I have done that where and I've actually, it came out of one time, me and my founder, we showed up, we had like a bunch of VC investments call and all these things were happening. And then we were just tired. We were just super beat. And we walked into our team meeting and we saw that the energy of the team deflated because our energy was deflated. And we, at that time, both of us said, well, we're just going to cancel meetings that we are needed to be in. We'd rather not show up than show up not 100% there. So it was more of a realization that don't do it if you can't put 100% in it. So that it was more of a lesson for us.
Awesome. All right. Next one is, never have I ever saved the best cold emails I received, so I can use that as a template when I write the next one.
Ooh, not the cold emails, but I do save a lot of like LinkedIn posts. That's a perfect example. On LinkedIn, you can actually click and save people's posts. I learned that like literally 6 months ago. I didn't really know that. And so you can now have like hundreds of posts I've separated. And once in a while, I'll just go back and see why I liked some of those posts. I'm like, oh, that's great, because there's no original idea. Like we're all learning from each other. And I'm always constantly learning, like, okay, why did that? Because it was very important for me to share that. I felt it, but it didn't really go well. Why? And then someone else shared something very similar, but that got a lot of engagement. And why is that? And so I'll constantly learn about it. So I have like hundreds of saved posts out there, and I learn from that constantly.
And how many hours do you spend on LinkedIn every day?
Not really, not as much as one might think, because I'm not on any other platform, right? Like, so I'm not on Facebook. My Twitter is hardly active. Instagram is like some stuff that it's posted. So really, I'm not on anybody but LinkedIn. And I typically would post in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I will go and engage if there is engagement on the post or anything like that. But outside of that, especially in the virtual meeting, I'm like back to back most days. There's hardly any time to do it as much as I used to. As a matter of fact, I used to do like lives when COVID happened. I used to do like a daily live, or at least a weekly live. And since we have the peak community now, I'm making sure that I'm doing some of that, more of that in that community, as opposed to LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is just one big event and a daily consistent post of learning.
I'm just surprised, like, how do you find the time to manage your company, Terminus, your community, and your LinkedIn, reading books, taking care of your family? How do you do that?
I think, like everybody, I think everybody's trying to do the best they can. And when we show the grace to others that everybody's really trying the best they can, nobody's trying to not do it that way. I think that's how you do it. And then obviously the peak community, as you know, we have 6 leaders who are leading that group, and the community itself is pretty vibrant and they're engaging. So honestly, I don't spend as much time I used to. I do events and I engage, but beyond that, I see the community growing by itself. Same thing with Terminus. We have an entire executive team. So I'm more from an outside in, like, hey, look, here's the market we're going. And it has allowed me to get out. So I'm not in the operator role as I used to be before. And I've moved 2.5 years ago in an evangelist role where I get to write books and I get to do what I feel is my lane of genius to help others and let others work on their lane of genius. So honestly, I think it might look like it, but in sincerity of it, I'm not sure if I'm doing that much.
Okay. Do you ever take a vacation?
All the time. Like we just came back from Charleston, where we did a speaking there. I had my whole family come with me, and we did fun. We turned that into a vacation. We went to the Disney World like earlier this year. We have a family thing where every quarter we'll take a vacation, and it might be a 2-day vacation. It doesn't need to be a 5-day vacation, but every quarter we'll do some sort of vacation to go out. But I also do, like, I think you don't need you can turn your weekends into mini vacations. So we would, and when COVID happened, we would put our camping huts outside and we'll just camp outside the house. I love drinking chai with my wife. Like every morning, every evening, we'll sit outside and drink. So I think there are moments that you can create all day long.
That's really great to hear, Sangram. All right, next question. Never have I ever republished the same content just by updating the publishing date.
Ooh. No, I don't think I've done the same content. Although I think what I would have probably done is a newer version of it. But no, but here's something that I think I've also done, which is use the same content but added more to it. So for example, let's say we created an ebook that really did well. And I remember we're like, well, let's just create the same ebook now for a different, or more specifically for a different industry. So 80% of the content is the same. We'll add another 15-20% and make it all about manufacturing industry or financial services industry, so that we can get in front of that audience. So we'll use the same exact content, 80% of it, and then add just 20% of it. And it works really well.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do that. Awesome. And the next question is, never have I ever forgotten to add a CTA to the email.
All the time, like most of that. So the best CTA, what's the best CTA, Sanjana, that you've seen work?
Like not asking for the time, of course, but just, asking if this would, like, I don't know, you tell me, but it's not about asking time. You just put me on the spot.
Yeah, well, we're on the spot together. So two things. One, the best way to get people to read, at least from my perspective, is the PS right at the bottom. Like nobody misses the PS. Like if I'm
a big believer in that.
You would probably never see. Yeah, you see that most of my notes in Peak and others always as a PS, because people remember and read that no matter what. So using a PS is a big idea for copywriters out there. And two, I think I've always found that when you ask for input and advice is more valuable, and people will give you more time than actually if you ask, like, hey, can you do? So for example, one of my books, the book that I'm writing right now, Move, I got Jeffrey Moore to give me a quote. Well, I didn't go to him and say, hey, Jeffrey, can you give me a quote? He wrote Crossing the Chasm. He's like done a whole bunch of things. I went to him and asked for his input through introductions. And when he took the time to give me his input and advice, then after that, he was bought into it, right? He had his ideas, he has his fingerprints on it. So now when I said, hey, would you be open to giving me a quote? And he's like, absolutely. So it's what, if you start with the end in mind, always, but you can't ask the end. You have to follow the trail to get to the end. So build relationship first, and then transactions, anything like that will come later on. But I was just happy to get his input and advice, and that is one of the best call to action I've seen.
Do you think we need a personal brand to, like, when we reach out to, a person like him, do you think that we need a personal brand so he'll reply, or is it okay if I
I don't
just
think so.
email him?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think so. Like, for example, compared to him or Seth or Pat, like I don't have millions of followers, or like they don't because that's not how I build a company that's worth millions of dollars. I think maybe there is something there, but I don't think that's why they respond, because they're already there. They're not looking to connect with only people who are there, because that's not going to help them. But I think it is how authentically you reach out to them and what you can actually offer them that gets them excited about it. So I remember for Seth, when he wrote This Is Marketing, I bought like 50 copies of the book and gave it to everybody in the company to read. And I told him like, hey, Seth, and after I did that, I then sent a note to Seth, hey, Seth, I just bought that many copies and sending everybody in our company, loved your book. Let me know if you're open to having a conversation and do a session with me. And he's like, oh, absolutely, let's do it. So I didn't say, hey, if you will be open to talk, I'll buy 50 copies from you. It wasn't a transaction. I just did it because I thought it was the right thing to do. And then followed with and asked. And if you said no, it's okay. But if you said yes, awesome. But it showed that I'm ready to do the deposit in the relationship every day and every time. And if he can do the deposits, you will see the bank is always full.
Yeah, I think it's about give and take. Like if you are willing to help them with something, they will obviously be ready to help you when you need the most. So I think that's the psychology here, right?
Yeah, but people can smell inauthentic givers from a mile. So I think everybody has to recognize that if you're an inauthentic giver, there are a lot of them out there. It just don't work. People can smell that out. That's just in our DNA.
Yeah. That's true. Awesome. So the next question is, never have I ever stalked my new boss joining the company or colleagues on social platform just to see what their vibe is.
Yeah, every day. I did it today.
Is it? Who was that?
I mean, I would stalk like everyone every day. For example, we now have a board. Obviously, have a board, have a CEO, and I'll stalk and see what they're doing, what they're posting, what they're looking at, and what their point of view is. And I think it's important. I think most people, if they look at to get promoted, to actually understand and do, it's really looking at your boss's top 3 priorities and nailing them. If not what your top 3 priorities are, what are your boss's top 3 priorities? If you can nail that, or at least work on one of them, that's how you actually make sure that you're aligned. A lot of times, then, most of us would just try to do, okay, here's my list of to-do things. I need to just check it off. But if you can have your boss's big to-do things, the big priorities that he or she has said, and actually anchor on that and figure out to help him or her on it, I mean, that's the way to grow.
Awesome. I do stalk everyone. Like I stalked you for about a month when I reached out to you for a webinar while I was at Hippo Video. Like I stalked you for a month to see like what kind of a person are you, like what do you like to read and what do you like to talk. So I can personalize the pitch for you like when I reach out to you. So so I do that all the time with all my speakers. I think that's how I do my research.
That's how you gain respect. Yeah, that's respect, right? Because you showed that you care to do that, and that's why I respond when you say, hey, I'm gonna do this, let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like when I reached out to you, I don't think you knew about me, but then you responded because the pitch was more personalized to who the person you are. So I think this is a great takeaway for the listeners.
Yeah.
Awesome. So the next question is, never have I ever continued interviewing someone even after I started hating that person in the first 5 minutes of the interview.
I don't think I have. I mean, that's really.
You've done a lot of interviews.
Yeah, I've done a lot. I've done a lot, right? Later, like 900 or so.
I wrote this for you.
Yeah.
I wrote this question for you.
I think hate is a hard word. Well, it's funny. So with this book, right, like the Move book that's coming out, I have Christopher Lockheed's quote on the book that says, "Love the guys, but hate the book."
Yeah. Yeah. Saw that on your LinkedIn yesterday.
Yeah, and I'm doing a live with him, right? Like because he was one of the people I wanted his opinion on the book and advice on the book.
Okay.
So I ran it by him, and he said, "Man, I hate this book." Like as soon as I shared with him the 3 Ps and all that stuff, he's like, "I hate it. I hate it." And I'm like, "Why?" Because it actually is awesome for me, because I need people to not say yes, but to say, have a point of view, and he obviously does. And he gave me all his reasons. I'm like, "Great, can I put your quote that you hate this book?" And he was like, "What are you talking about? Like, seriously?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to put it on the front cover, not back, front cover at the bottom, like, you hate this book." And he's like, "Yeah, do it." And we did it. And so interesting, there's a mutual respect there for his point of view, which is opposite to the book point of view. But that's the point. Like, it's, there's not always one way is right. And I think if we can have an abundant mindset, then we can see that the world is okay with multiple point of views. And you don't have to be so like, well, we don't have to be in our echo chambers where we just look at one type of things. We need to invite people. If you really want to make an inclusive community that everybody talks about, then the first thing we do is you go and hug your haters, and you hug the people that actually have a difference of opinion. So I'm like, well, I'm going to put where mouth is. I put his quote on the front of the book, and that's how it's going to come out.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great to see. And when do you have this session, or is it LinkedIn?
It's on the live. I'm doing the live the 21st. So when I launch the book on the 21st of September, it's starting with him. It's he's the second guest. On Monday 20th is TK. Okay. And then on Tuesday it's Christopher. I'm literally launching the book with the person who said, "I hate your book."
I don't think I've ever seen anybody do this, so I'm really excited for this live session.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. All right. So next question is, never have I ever pretended to know an answer in the meeting that I didn't know.
Oh, I've done that. I think when we started Terminus in the early days, I had no idea, what the market size is. And when they said, "Hey, do you know what your CACs are and what your LTVs are and all that stuff?" I had no idea what they were talking about. I'm like, of course, like next time we meet, we'll have all that. And, went back and researched everything later on, like what the heck they were talking about, to be aware of it. But I think there is a time when your answer needs to be yes to everything. Because at that time you're really trying to, a lot of people say no, but I think there's a time in life when you need to say yes to everything. Yes to opportunities that come your way. Yes to things that will push you, help. Yes to things you don't know. And that doesn't mean you're lying. You're saying yes to everything that I don't know, but over a period of time, you learn that, okay, the better answer, the more mature answer would have been to say that, well, I don't know, but I can figure it out and I'll find it for you. Get it? But there's a time maybe in your youth or in your first or something where the answer is always yes. And that really pushes you to figure out, okay, what was that? And you have to just make sure that you understand when you're saying yes. Yes is not to say, yes, I know the answer and I can tell you right now, because that will be a mess. But yes, I can get you the answer and make sure you get that. So I've definitely been there. I think as you mature, you realize that you don't have to know everything and it doesn't matter. But I've definitely done that a lot in the early days.
Awesome. That's good to hear. All right. The last question for you. Never have I ever faked being sick from work.
Never have I ever what changed?
Faked from being sick from work.
Oh, faked from being sick from work?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I faked. I mean, I don't know if you know, Sanjana, I never even had a desk, ever. Like I had never had a desk at Terminus. Yeah, like I just never, I hate the idea of desk. So when we had COVID and remote and people worked remote, I'm like, great, like awesome. Like I never had a desk. I never had a spot. I always would carry my laptop wherever I want to go sit with somebody and spend time with them. I'll go and sometimes sit next to the sales team and just listen to the calls where they're having calls, and I'll just work from there. And that gets to help me connect with the team on the sales side. If I don't have a meeting, I never had an office because I never believed in the idea that I need to be behind a closed door to do what I need to do. If I'm in the office, I'm meeting people. A lot of times I won't even take my laptops to the office. In the early days, like after a certain point, I just didn't take my laptop. Like it was so distracting for me and everybody around. Like if I'm in the office, I need to be focused 100% on my team, on the meetings that we are in, and whatever that needs to happen. There's sometimes in the early days, I didn't even take my laptop when I knew I had back-to-back meetings. And if I needed to, then I'll just work from home. If I need to work on stuff, I don't need to go to the office and lock myself in a door and work. That made no sense to me at all. It made sense to me to just work on my thing and then go at lunchtime when I'm done with the stuff I needed to do and for the meetings in the noon. So to me, that is just the mindset that I adopted from day one.
Awesome. Thank you, Sangram. This was lovely. I loved your energy and enthusiasm throughout the video. I think you're the natural extrovert, right? Like you like to speak and you have so much energy and enthusiasm when you speak. I really love that. And yeah, I think this has come out really well. So I will publish this video soon. Yeah, and thank you so much for spending your time with me today, Sangram.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for letting me share the books and share some of these ideas. So let's see where it goes. Thanks for doing this, Sanjana. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.